Hello everyone. Welcome to our Mind Byte series presented by TecMan. So this session continues from our previous round where we introduce ServiceNow and explore IT service management, IT operation management, IT asset management, and HRSD. Today's session will focusing on ServiceNow GRC. In this session, we'll walk through what GRC is, its key concepts, and how it's helped organizations manage governance, risk, and compliance in a single integrated platform. We also look at the core modules and see how ServiceNow moves us from manual, scattered process to a centralized, automated, and audit-ready systems. Today, our speakers in this session, Mr. Adan John and Mr. Majid Saeed, both are very competent and ServiceNow certified consultants and trainers. So you can watch all our sessions on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook as well. So we're proud to have Architect Solution, Not Cyber, OGMC, and Delta One as our strategic partners for our today's sessions. For upcoming updates and sessions, so please visit our TechMan official website and LinkedIn page and Facebook as well. So let me just give you a quick rundown for our upcoming free sessions. So it's going to be on ServiceNow SPM on September 18, and the next one is ServiceNow CSM on October 2. Before I hand over to Adan, let me share how today's session will run down and why it will be valuable for you. This GRC session will be divided into two phases. One phase, introduction by Adan John, and second phase, question answer with the Majid says. So you can drop off your question in the comments during these sessions. So Mr. Adan, now it's your turn. So give us some further enhancement and further presentation on this GRC. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Adan Saqib, and today we're going to be discussing GRC, or Governance Risk Compliance. So the agenda for today is going to be, first we're going to discuss what is GRC, how it's implemented in companies, what is governance, risk, and compliance separately and specifically. Then we're going to discuss some key pillars of ServiceNow GRC, which are not exactly modules, but they're absolutely integral to making GRC work. After that, we're going to look at some of the core modules that GRC has to provide you with these services. And in the end, we're going to hold a Q&A session. So let's start with something, let's start with the basics. What exactly is GRC inside ServiceNow? So GRC stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance. And inside ServiceNow, it's delivered through what's often called the Integrated Risk Management Application, or the IRM application. At its core, it's about giving organizations a single structured system to manage all the rules they have to follow, the risks they have to face, and the controls they have to put in place to stay compliant with regulations and other external rules that they have to follow. Now, why exactly is this important? In most cases that I've seen, risk, compliance, and governance used to live in separate places like spreadsheets, emails, and disconnected tools, which is often disadvantageous for many companies. By separate and disconnected tools, I mean, let's say we can take an example. Let's say a company that is using different HRM tools like Orange HRM to manage their employees, to get their attendance, to record their leaves, etc. And to comply with the specific policies of those softwares, they have to send you emails and tasks on ClickUp, which are very disconnected and in separate places, so it's hard to keep track of them. But let's be more specific. Like finance companies might need to adhere to Sarbanes-Oxley's controls, and they have to manage that in Excel. IT security might track vulnerabilities in separate systems. Now that might work for a while, but when executives ask like where exactly are we most exposed, nobody has a single and trusted answer because all the data is just scattered in many different places, and many of the important things slips through the cracks and can't be compiled when they're needed for audits or any other reports. So it's a huge disadvantage for many companies out there. Other than that, okay, so this is where GRC comes in. Instead of having like silos of isolated data, you can get a centralized platform that ties everything together: your policies, your controls, and the risks that you're monitoring, everything. So, from what I've seen in GRC, the real value is in the automation and visibility. You can basically automate many different tasks like evidence collection, trigger risk assessments when something changes in ServiceNow environment, and generate real time dashboards for executives and auditors. That means no more chasing down documents before audits because all of that data is stored in one single place already. And this is it's not just about avoiding fines through audits and etc. It's although that's a huge driver, but organizations use GRC to make better decisions basically because they can actually see what their risk exposure is in real time rather than waiting for a quarterly report or something like that. So, in simple terms, ServiceNow GRC is how organizations move from reactive manual compliance to proactive and automated, where they implement a risk aware culture in their company. Now, let's look at GRC or governance, risk, and compliance separately. What is governance? When we say governance in an organization, we are really talking about the decision making and accountability. It's about making sure that the right people have the right authority and the policies are being followed consistently that are set by the company or other external regulations as well. So, in ServiceNow, governance is enforced through different policies, control objectives, and workflows, which are configured through to your personal needs of your company. For example, if your organization has a policy that all critical changes must be approved by a compliance officer, ServiceNow can enforce that automatically through approvals and role based access and other tools that it has. Governance also includes tools like reporting and oversight through dashboards and performance analytics provided in ServiceNow. It helps give executives and employees visibility into how well the company is meeting their governance objectives. It ensures that compliance and risk aren't just operational issues, they're built into the decision making process. After that, now we're moving on to risk. Risk is about the uncertainty or the possibility that something could go wrong and impact your business. But in the GRC module, risk management is structured. Each risk is written in a risk statement, and the structure is basically first the cause is defined, that what might be the trigger, then what the exact event was or what might happen because of that trigger, and the impact it has, the effect on the organization, the many things that it's going to affect. That's stored in the impact section. Now, for example, because of like we can take an example of a company because of weak access controls, an unauthorized user may gain access leading to data breaches. Now, the cause here is the weak access control that's in the company. The event is some individual gaining unauthorized access to confidential data that your company holds. And the impact is it causes a data breach. So risk in ServiceNow, risks can be grouped into like frameworks, which are IT security, financial, operational, All of these help categorize those risks, and they're tied to entities as well in ServiceNow. These could be business units or processes or even specific assets that those risks apply to, which are stored in CMDB separately. So ServiceNow, it also allows you to apply risk scoring modules, which can be qualitative, like low, medium, high. It can be set according to your specific needs, what you prefer, what's easier for you to use. It can also be quantitative, using percentages or likelihoods. So it's a method to prioritize those risks. Now, and actually, in my opinion, the biggest advantage that ServiceNow GRC provides in risk management is, again, the automation. For example, if you have a vulnerability scanner which finds critical issues on a server. Now, in that situation, because that's a huge risk and can lead to many problems down the stream, instead of going all through the due diligence and assigning that problem to someone, it can automatically trigger the risk assessment. GRC can automatically trigger the risk assessment and assign it to the appropriate agent or the person that has to review it. So no waiting for manual intervention. Everything is automated. After that, we have compliance finally. So compliance is about making sure that the organization is following both external regulations and internal policies. Now, by external regulations and internal policies, I mean external regulations are like GDPR for data privacy, or Sarbanes-Oxley for financial reporting, or HIPAA for healthcare data. These are basically for many reasons like employee safety and maintain the market trust and avoid malpractice for companies. Basically, it's for check and balance on organizations. And as for internal policies, these are set by the company themselves. These are company specific rules like enforcing multi factor authentication or requiring employees to reset passwords every 90 days for cybersecurity. So in ServiceNow, these requirements are modeled as authority documents. Both internal and external regulations are modeled as authority documents, broken down into many different parts like citations, which are specific requirements, and then mapped to controls that the company implements. So instead of compliance being like a checklist, ServiceNow gives you a living system of records, which is dynamic and constantly being updated. So every control is tied to an owner, tasks, evidence. So that way, when auditors ask, show me like how your company is complying with certain article of GDPR of data security, so you can pull up exactly what they need. You can pull up instantly with the mapped controls and proof. Now that we have had a brief overview of what governance, risk, and compliance is, let's look on the key pillars that support GRC in ServiceNow. So let's talk about what I consider the key building blocks of GRC in ServiceNow. These aren't modules on their own, but they're absolutely essential for making the whole governance, risk, and compliance framework work. So the first one is authority documents. Like we were discussing before, think of authority documents as the source of truth for compliance rules. These are external regulations, frameworks, or standards that your organization has to follow, like ISO and HIPAA, as I mentioned before. So in ServiceNow, we load all of these authority documents into the system so that every compliance activity is linked back to the official regulation or standard. Now, that way, we are not working in isolation. Everything we do is anchored into real world requirements and is tracked through logging as well. Now,
Authority documents are made up of more specific instructions. That brings us to this second pillar, which are citations. A citation is basically a clause or requirement inside ServiceNow, inside the authority document. For example, let's say a GDPR article might say you need to implement security measures for data protection. That's a citation. Citations are the actionable parts of of a regulation that you need to comply with. In ServiceNow, citations are actually broken down and then mapped to controls and policies inside your organization. This mapping is very critical because it lets you trace the compliance all the way from high level regulation down to the exact control or process that it satisfies. Now, what I personally think is that this traceability is one of the most powerful parts of GRC because, like, if you're having an audit and the auditor asks, show me how you comply with the specific requirement, you don't have to dig through Word documents or SharePoints or other data that your company has. You can literally click through ServiceNow from menu in the banner to citation to control and then to the evidence to get all the relevant information that you need with just a few clicks. So that's a huge advantage for companies. Next up, let's talk about the next two key pillars of ServiceNow GRC, which are control objectives and sorry. Yes, which are control objectives and policies. A control objectives is a high level goal. Basically, it's you want to achieve in order to meet compliance and reduce the risk in your organization. Think of it as the intent behind your compliance activities. For example, a control objective might be to ensure only authorized users can access the sensitive data. Notice that's not a specific control yet, it's the overall objective. In ServiceNow, control objectives serve as a bridge between external requirements and the internal controls that your company has, internal policies that your company has. So that's basically what that was. Now let's look at the last pillar, which is policies. Policies are the integral rules and procedures your company creates to meet those control objectives. If the objective is, like we said before, ensure only authorized users can access sensitive data, then the policy might be all employees must use multi-factor authentication for system access. So that's how those two connect. In this module, policies basically can be written directly into the system and linked to authority documents and then mapped to the controls that they enforce that help them enforce them. This way, employees can see them in the employee center as well, and auditors can see how they tie back to the compliance requirements. So together, these four, which were authority documents, citations, control objectives, and policies, all of them can be linked and form a chase of traceability. Like regulations define the rule, citations breaks the rules down, and control objectives set the goal. Whereas policies make it real in your environment and set specific goals that you can apply in your company. So that's basically the structure which makes GRC so powerful. Now that we've looked into that, let's move on to some of the core modules that ServiceNow GRC provides. These aren't all of them, but these are the main ones that we're going to be talking about today. So the first one is risk management. It's one of the core modules in GRC. In ServiceNow, every risk is tracked as a record in the risk table, which is also SN underscore risk. In that table, each record follows a specific structure, which is cause, event, and impact. Now, all of the records adhere to this model. For example, because let's say because of weak access controls, an attacker might gain unauthorized access, leading to data breach. Like this is the same example I gave before. In this, the cause of that problem is the weak access controls. The event is an unauthorized attacker gaining access to your company's data and confidential documents, etc. And the impact it has is that it had a huge data breach on your company. So risks through this table are assessed using scoring models. You can keep it simple with qualitative values like low, medium, high, or use quantitative models like likelihood or impact or different scores you can give it, scores and percentages. So now these models live in the risk scoring model table, which is named SN underscore risk underscore scoring model. This table can be customized as per the framework. Now, framework themselves are stored in a different table, which is the risk framework table, and different group related risks are stored in there as well. For example, IT security, compliance, or finance. To make the reporting easier, everything is compartmentalized. So after that, once a risk is assessed through this model, you can log a response, mitigate it, accept it, and transfer, and then avoid it. These are All of these steps are tracked in the risk response table. In this table, you can also trigger tasks and policies and controlled tests can be run as well. So, and one of the most powerful features is linking those risks to the business services or CIs in the CMTP, so that this way, when your access is compromised or there is a data breach or any other problem, when you assess the impact of that, you know exactly what system and services are at stake, what's affected, and how you can come up with a way to deal with it. Finally, it also leverages the dashboard tools and analytic tools to create reports showing all your top risks, open responses, and compliance coverage in real time. So in that sense, it also helps you with decision making as well. The next module is audit management, which helps organizations plan, execute, and track both internal and external audits. Now, in ServiceNow, every audit engagement is tracked in the audit engagement table, which is named SN audit underscore engagement. In this table, you can basically define the audit scope, the schedule, and the teams assigned to the audit, and even the authority documents driving it, like ISO or Sarbanes-Oxley. Audits are actually broken down into a different table, which is the audit and workspaces table, where auditors collect evidence, run control tests, and record findings. Basically, evidence can be directly attached in this system, so everything stays centralized and traceable. When in those audits, when gaps are found, the system generates issues automatically, which can be assigned to business owners with remediation tasks as well, also giving them due dates. It has many different features to organize those issues. That way, findings don't just sit in reports, they trigger real action and require real time action to solve them. Now, finally, we have vendor risk management. This is the last module we're going to be talking about today. Vendor risk management, or VRM, focuses on assessing and monitoring those risks from third party vendors. This is very critical since vendor and supply chain breaches are now one of the biggest risk factors in organizations. So in ServiceNow GRC, this module gives you features that help you track those vendors through different tables. Keep a track of those vendors in a table, which is SNVDR underscore vendor table. From there, you can launch different assessments, questionnaires, evidence requests. All of those are built from templates that define questions, scoring, and thresholds. So this system calculates the risk scores based on those from these. So from these assessments, which can then trigger different workflows like remediation tasks or escalation for high risk vendors. This help you mitigate many different down the stream risks and vulnerabilities that you're prone to. You can also integrate external data feeds into it, such as security ratings or financial health checks for continuous monitoring. And then you can use that data to make dashboards and then provide visibility at basically all levels. For example, procurement sees onboarding process, risk team see detailed vendor scores, and executives get a very clear picture of the overall vendor risk exposure that they have. So that was basically what VRM or vendor risk management module provides in ServiceNow GRC. Now that we're done with the core modules, we're going to move on to the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adan. I really appreciate your wonderful presentation on GRC. Before we open the QA session, I want to highlight how ServiceNow GRC is shaping this 2025 ecosystem. As we look at 2025, ServiceNow GRC is playing a much bigger role in how organizations operate. Companies are no longer satisfied with just ticketing boxes for compliance. Instead, they are shifting towards a proactive risk aware culture where governance, risk, and compliance are built into daily decision making. So, what makes ServiceNow powerful is the way it connects everything governance, risk management, compliance, audit, and even vendor risks into a single platform. With automation or real-time dashboards, so leaders get clear visibility into risk and compliance gaps, so while teams can act quickly instead of waiting for issue to pile up. So this is not just about staying compliant with regulations anymore. It's about creating resilience, building digital trust, and giving executives and regulators confidence that organization is in control in today's ecosystem. So that level of trust and agility can be the difference between keeping pace and change of falling behind. So we have some questions from our audience uh, for Majid's side. So the question one I have, what is the service on GRC and why is it important for organization? No, it's okay.
So, for the answer for the first one, why is it important for organizations? The ServiceNow GRC is a suite of applications that helps organization to manage governance, risk, and compliance. It is a structured and automated way and integrates risk management, policy enforcement, compliance tracking, and audits within a single platform. Governance ensures that organizational activities align with business goals. Risk identifies potential risk in the system, or it could be in incidents or in integration. It identifies that. Compliance ensures adherence to regulations, standards, and internal policies. So, I could give an example for that as well. In real life, a bank needs to comply with SOX. It's just a simple regulation, SOX using and what benefits it could get while using ServiceNow GRC. It creates a policies for financial data handling. It identifies risk like unauthorized access to financial systems. Also implements controls such as multi-factor authentication for finance applications and automate evidence collections from AD and system logs to prove compliance. Dashboard shows execution in the real-time compliance score and highlight failed controls. So what benefits would that organization will get from this is this reduce the manual burden of yearly audits, prevent regulatory fines, and ensures continuous compliance. That's the answer to the first question.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have another one on board?
So yes, we have other question from our audience. So
What
how
is
does ServiceNow GRC manage risk effectively?
So ServiceNow GRC manages risk through a structured life cycle. At first, it just identifies the risk. Risk identification is the most crucial step and the initial step in ServiceNow GRC risk. Risks are captured from multiple sources like manual entries, compliance assessment, incident data, or vendor questionnaires or integration. So first step or crucial step is to just first identify the risk, and then the second one is to just assess the risk first. Each risk is evaluated by likelihood, how often it might occur, or an impact, what impact it will have on instance. The third step would be to just how the organization responds to that risk. It will just avoid that, like stop using the record or remove the record from it first. Then the second step would be the mitigate, implement controls to reduce likelihood slash impact, or transfer it to another instance, outsource it, insure against the risk, and accept it. Like they will just keep the risk in the system and will move forward with their other work. The fourth or step would be the risk monitoring. Risk are tracked over time with key risk indicators, workflows, and status updates. Mitigation progress is also monitored. Last would be the risk reporting dashboard. You can use dashboard for that. Like the system will evaluate overall risk that potential risk that system has, and will show it on your will show it all of them on your dashboards. Example for that would be a global e-commerce company identifies the risk of website downtime during Black Friday. It's a common error. It happens every time. So what the company will do, it first identifies the risk, system monitoring tool flags or overall risk, then it will just assess the risk first, like what's the current impact of that risk in the system. Is it medium or it's a very high million in lost revenues, and the third one will be the how company will respond to that risk, and the fourth one will be monitoring it, keeping it tracked. In this case, it would be as CPU utilization and response time are tracked in real time. The last step would be the reporting. Executives view a heat map showing IT risk for critical sales systems. So benefits of just managing risk through this is that the company proactively manages and reduces risk instead of reacting after an incident. So that's how a company should effectively manage risk. That's the answer to the second question.
Okay, wonderful. So I have one more question from our audience, Mr. Umair. So how does ServiceNow GRC integrate with other ServiceNow modules?
ServiceNow GRC integrate with a couple of other modules such as CMDB. It could be incident and problem slash change management. It could be in SecOps, security operations, vendor management. So in CMDB, why it should integrate with CMDB? Because a risk and controls can be linked to assets, applications, services, or business units stored in the CMDB. This creates a traceability. If a server, app, or service fails compliance, the related risk is immediately visible. And why it should be integrated to incident, problem, and change. Risk and compliance issues can trigger ITSM workflows, and this will identify the risk before it's happening. Like you don't have to go through incidents and wait for it to get resolved. You can just track it through dashboards and resolve it immediately. And why is it being used in SecOps? Vulnerability security incidents and threat intelligence from SecOps feed into the risk register. Risks are updated automatically as new threats emerge. A real-time example for that would be a financial service company uses ServiceNow GRC integrated with multiple modules. CMDB business service like online banking are mapped to associated risks. ITSM, when a control test fails, firewall misconfiguration change request is automatically generated for it. And for SecOps, a vulnerability detected in the bank's mobile app feeds directly into the GRC risk register, and you could just track that risk from there and start working on before it moves on to an incident. You should wait for it to get resolved. Like for you have to wait for it to get resolved for like a week or two. By the GRC, it will get identified in no time and it will be resolved in no time.
Sounds good. So I have one more question about can you explain the life cycle of policy and compliance management in ServiceNow?
Yeah, sure. The policy and compliance lifecycle in ServiceNow provides a structured way to ensure regulatory requirements. So the first step does in the policy and compliance management, it just creates authority documents such as these are regulatory or industry frameworks, and organization must comply to these so it could just run smoothly without any potential risk or impacts. Define citations, break down authority documents into specific requirements, clauses. The third one would be the map controls, create and link controls to citations to enforce compliance. Controls can be manual, user access reviews, or automated encryption settings. Fourth one would be assign ownership. Uh, each control and policy is assigned to an accountable owner. It could be an IT manager, it could be a compliance officer, and a test controls would be conducted. Conduct control testing is to validate effectiveness, and same for this one. It could be manual and it could be automated. Also, we can just monitor the compliance for it as well. Could just report issues, failed controls, or test results automatically generate remediation tasks for customers or compliance manager. So he could just take over look over that task and try to resolve it as soon as possible. Example could be a pharmaceutical company must comply to FDA. It's just a part of a regulation. It could be anything if at FDA or CDA for electronic records and signatures. So it will just go through these steps to just keep it in the compliance and policy management. First one will be the authority document, and that is the FDA that I've mentioned before. It will be just inserted into ServiceNow, and citations will be implemented on that. It just break down the records like audit trails must maintain for all electronic records. Then the third step will come at being is the controls, implement controls such as enabling system to logging for all clinical trial applications. And the next step would be the ownership and testing and monitoring. That's the answer for this question.
Wonderful. Yes, right. So I have one more question.
hmm
So, what are the main challenges organization face when implementing GRC in ServiceNow?
Like organizations face several challenges when rolling out so GRC in service now. It could be data quality issues, it could be change management, it could be customization out of the box, integration complexity, scalability in data quality. I guess GRC relies on accurate CMDB and authoritative data resources, poor data, unreliable risk as compliance reporting. Example could be a bank CMDB has duplicate servers, wrong risk map creating false reports. That could be the main reason of data quality issues. Change management, business units may resist adopting the centralized GRC platform. Requires strong communication, training, and leadership support. For the customization, too much customization complicates upgrades and support. GRC uses out-of-the-box workflows and rules that could just run anytime when a risk is identified, and it will work out of the box. If you just customize it more and more, it will just become a mess for you to manage those rules. And if you're trying to create a new or complex rule of your own, you should just keep in mind the out of the box functionality of GRC as well. So your own functionality could run easily. Integration complexity, GRC often needs data from HR, ERP, SecOps, vulnerability, and scanners, etc. Integration can be time consuming and costly as well. That is why these are the main challenges that organizations face with GRC. Any other questions?
Yes. So, can you share some of the key dashboards and reports in ServiceNow GRC module?
So GRC mostly use a risk heat map. This just shows risk by likelihood impact or drill down into high risk items and track KRIs. Example, hospital sees high risk in EHR due to legacy, and it will just show it right away on the risk heat map dashboard. The other one is compliance dashboard, tracks and control, test pass hash, fail rates, and compliance score. I've mentioned previously about the testing records. It could be done manually or automated, and the results for those are stored in this compliance dashboard to record the risk management that we're doing in the instance currently. It will just highlights failed or overdue controls. Example for that would be compliance score drops to 91% due to failed access control test, and you could just um, identify everything from this dashboard and take actions accordingly. The other one would be the audit dashboard. Monitors audits, findings, and remediation status. Shows overdue or high severity findings as well. Vendor risk dashboard. It just shows vendor risk management. Whatever a risk is vendors having, it will show in this dashboard and evaluates it for you. It will monitors higher risk vendors and overdue questionnaires as well. Other one would be the executive GRC dashboard. Consolidates risk, compliance, and audit and vendor posture, provides trend lines and exceptions for board reporting as well. These are, I guess, key dashboard that are used in GRC mostly.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adan and Majid, for sharing your expertise with us today. And big thank you to everyone who joined this session. We truly appreciate your time and engagement as well. So I would like to continue learning and don't forget to explore more resources on our website. So I just share with you. Yes. So you can also visit our website at Architect. So including our services administration, development, implementation, and maintenance, and consultancy and support as well. So now you can explore moreover about the TecMan. So here are listed some free and some paid courses relevant to the service now, and some our you get information upcoming session as well. So at TechMan Academy, we're committed to helping you start and advance your services journey, whether you are looking for self-paced learning, live training, and expert guidance as well. And must visit our relevant to this session about book service on GRC, but written by Mr. Sean Ali and Saqib John. You can also buy from Amazon, and also we are listed more than 70 books relevant to the service now, and some other playbooks as well about the knowledge and some other guidance. And thank you all, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook so other can benefit as well. So stay tuned for our upcoming sessions regarding SPM, CSM, and APM. Once again, thank you to being part of our today TechMan Mind Bite session as well.